Hello, 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 and welcome back. If you are noticing on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, this go round, this episode, you will notice I'm in an area in which I'm not typically in. But as I've shared before, I want to switch things up. I don't always need to have the mic on me. And so here I am doing an episode from my couch in my living room with my three pups, including our new one, Casper. Um, so yeah, here we be. I am really excited to blend two topics into one. I put a post on my Instagram stories this week and asked what you'd like to hear on the podcast. Actually did that this past weekend, and I realized that there were two topics that were tied, so I decided to blend them together. So we are going to talk about at the beginning of this episode, just a little loving reminder from me to you, in case you need it, related to just moving forward with your health and wellness, and just moving forward in life in general. Because I think we need that. I know I need it, and clearly I know that you all do too because of the response to the poll on Instagram this weekend. Um, and then we're going to slide into my top five all natural living swaps that I think you're going to really like. They're really easy to implement, and you can start using them right now, like today. Go out, get the things, or if you have the things on hand, you could start using them and implementing them today. So I'm really excited for all of that. So before we get going, I want to just share real quick that I have decided the exact date to release our second podcast. So yes, I've been talking about that for a while on Instagram. And I shared recently on the podcast that I am going to be launching the second podcast here soon. My official launch date for the second podcast, which is called the Positive Podcast, will be March 24th. It is just after the spring equinox, which, according to the Gregorian calendar, which that we no longer follow, was initially the beginning of the year. So I felt like this was the natural next steps for me to start this second podcast by putting this first episode out on, essentially the beginning of the old new year, and also just the beginning of spring. So yeah, this podcast will be focused on really helping us to understand how we can support animals and advocate for animals. Specifically, we're going to be honing in on dogs and pets. And we're going to be learning about things like, adoption and rescue, and how we can choose more cruelty-free products, as well as how we can advocate for more cruelty-free products to be out in the market, and so much more. We're going to hear from dog parents and pet parents alike that are going to share their stories and just motivate and inspire you. So I'm really excited for all that's to come. We just got some good stuff coming down the pike. We'll also have a dog medium coming on, which I'm really excited about too. So stay tuned. We got a lot of good stuff coming in that upcoming new podcast that I am going to be hosting. And from the start of that podcast, we will be, from March 24th on, the Listening to Your Gut podcast will be bi-weekly. So on the off weeks, we'll have the Positive podcast and vice versa. So stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of good stuff coming on both podcasts in this year and beyond. So I'm really excited. Now, without further ado, we're going to dive in to our episode. So I wanted to first start with this reminder in case you are needing it. I want to remind you that regardless of what the scale says, if you're looking at the scale, regardless of how, you know, the trackers that you're using are looking, whether they're filled out or not, regardless of all these external factors, I want you to know that you are making progress on whatever it is you're focused on, whether it is your physical health, whether it is your mental health, whether it is your social health or emotional health, whether it is focusing on making your environment more healthy, or healthier for you. I want you to know that you are making progress. And I know that that can be hard to grasp and to internalize, but you are, because you are doing what you can in this moment, and in the moments coming forth, you're doing what you can, right? And I want to also remind you that you do not need to set a deadline or a timeline for when certain things need to be done. I know that is contrary to popular belief. I know we say, we want to have that ideal, you know, health and wellness by X date, but I think sometimes we get so caught up in those dates that we end up sabotaging ourselves along the way. And so I want to remind you that as long as you're putting in consistent effort, and that could be just a minute thing that you do every single day and you build on it, you are making progress. I want to just give you a real quick example of how this is playing out in my own life. If you remember back in 2024, towards the latter half of 2024, I shared how I was really working on going back to basics, and I use an app on my phone to track my progress with my goals. And I told you that I was only focusing on one goal because more than one was just too much. And so I used that app I would say, I think I started in June or July over the summer break while I was on break from school. And I started tracking how many fruits and vegetables I was eating. And the goal was 3 to 4. Well, at the end of summer, I had been doing great with that, but the end of summer, got back into school, and things were just out of whack. And I started feeling like, I was doing okay, but then I started not tracking the goal, and I just let go of it for a while. And fast forward to now, the beginning of 2025, I decided, that goal needed to be revamped. So I am now going back to still using that same app, but I am now focused on making sure that I'm taking my multivitamin every single day. For me, that's something that I know makes a huge difference. And I'm only about a week and a half into consistently taking that every single day, and have already seen huge differences in the way that I feel, in the way that I show up. I just have more energy, more aliveness to me. I just got to this point towards the latter half of the year where I was not on my regular supplement routine, which only consists of a few things, but that really hindered my overall health and wellness. And so I have been back on the bandwagon, so to speak, and tracking my progress with this app, and it's just been really, really helpful for me to um, stick to my goal of bettering my health, but in a, small, manageable way that I can compound over time by continuing to show up and take my multivitamin, but also I can add on goals once I feel ready. And I'm not ready to add on any other goals just yet. It's going to be several months until I get to that point. But I know that what I'm doing, these little teeny micro steps, are leading to big change over time. So just want to remind you of that if you need that reminder to make it small, make those micro changes, do that, because it's going to make big impacts, big change for you over time. And also give yourself that grace. I gave myself that grace and saying, hey, I fell off the bandwagon of, tracking my progress with my previous goal. Let's start fresh. Let's start clean with a different goal that seems fitting for right now. And then we'll move forward from there. So I hope that helps. I hope that's a great reminder to you, especially in this season where I feel like a lot of people are, quote unquote, balls to the wall with these New Year's resolutions. That's just not me. That's not my thing. And I hope this reminds you that you don't have to subscribe to that either. So, all right. Hopefully, like I said, that was helpful to you. We are now going to dive into the second half, or the second portion of this episode, which is really focused on I'd like to say manageable, easy changes you can make that, one, are healthy for you, two, are all natural, and three, all five of these things are cruelty free. And like I said at the beginning of this podcast, my second podcast, the positive podcast, one of the topics we are going to tackle is cruelty free and how can we, start looking for products that are such. Um, so I am excited to share, like I said, that all of these options are cruelty free. So they are in no particular order, but I'm just going to run through five swaps that you can make that are pretty easy to make. Some of these you can do at home. And some of them you can of course purchase too if you want to go that some of you will purchase, but they are long lasting, um, and just really great alternatives to some of the typical, chemical laden products that unfortunately are just part of our mainstream society. So the first one is going to be Dr. Bronner's Castile soap. Okay, I am obsessed with those soaps. They come in a variety of different scents. You can, of course, make your own soap. I have all the ingredients to do that. So, that's an option for me as well. But when I don't want to make my own soaps, um, Dr. Bronner's is incredible, and they have a whole line of other things. I saw today when I was looking on their website, they have like shave cream or shave gel. They've got sprays. I mean, you name it, they even have hand soap too, which we'll get to that. That is one of my recommendations. So you can get their hand soap as well. But I use, and my husband and I use their Castile soap bars for shower purposes. I don't have any reactions to their bars of soaps. They're just very clean. I'll even give you a little bit of a description as to, why they are so um prim and pres primo and pristine. So they're made of a um vegetable oil base, and they're free of chemicals and other synthetic ingredients and animal products. Like I said, all of these things that I'm mentioning to you today are cruelty free. So you can rest assured that Dr. Bronner's is one of those brands that is cruelty free. Um, and they use essential oils to, scentify, if you will, some of their soaps. The one that I currently am using is, I think they're citrus scent, but I've used so many. They've got peppermint, they have tea tree, they have almond. Um, Oh my gosh, the sky's the limit. They have so many different kinds. They have unscented too if you don't want that as well. So, highly recommend them. They are a little bit pricey, so if you want to get into creating your own soaps at home, you can easily research that. Um, Dr. Michelle Jorgensen, who's going to be on the podcast next week, she has a great Sufficient Living book that I have that teaches you how to make soap. So, highly recommend that. But you could also just easily Google, YouTube it, and find out how to create your own soaps. Really reasonably at home as well. So that would be my first swap, is to swap to a Castile soap. The reason I don't really like, Dove soaps and things like that as much is those do have chemicals. They can be more harsh on the skin. And I just find that when I used to use those, I would notice a kind of like a film after using those. And with these Dr. Bronner soaps, I don't see that. It's just a very all natural clean. So highly recommend them, long lasting. I feel like I get at least a month, if not more, out of each of my soaps from them. So just absolutely amazing. Second thing that I want to share would be shampoo. So my husband and I use the Alba Botanicals brand. I originally found them, I kid you not, at Costco. Now I don't see them at Costco anymore, but you can still get them, of course, from their website, but also they do sell them on Amazon. And I believe ours is like the 32 ounce, so it's a pretty big bottle and it lasts us like probably half a year, because you don't need much, but it is also cruelty free, minimal ingredients, smells like coconut, smells amazing, does the job of cleaning your hair and making it smell incredible. Um, And just a little bit about their brand as well, Alba Botanical. They are plant-based. They are also focused on reducing the environmental footprint, so they use recycled packaging whenever possible. And then again, like I said, can't say enough, they are also cruelty-free. The third thing would be dish soap. So, dish soaps, the dish soap that I currently use is going to be the Mrs. Meyer's brand. They are again cruelty free, and they contain less chemicals. They're very minimally like they have very minimal ingredients, but they're I essentially mostly essential oils, and plant-based ingredients, just like Dr. Bronner's is, but Dr. Bronner's is like completely void of any extra chemicals and such. But the good thing to know, or I should say, one of the most important things to note on Mrs. Meyer's is that they are free of ammonia, chlorine, parabens, phthalates, formaldehyde, gross, can't even believe that that is in some products, artificial colorants, phosphates, petroleum distillates, and PFAS, which are those forever chemicals. Um, they say, as part of their website, that they are made with essential oils, plant-derived ingredients, and other thoughtfully chosen ingredients. So one of the best routes that you can go with, the natural approach to cleaning your dishes. So again, you could also create your own, um, you could also create your own dish soap. There are recipes to do that online as well, but this is um, one of my favorite, all natural options to go with, um, if you don't have the time to make it. Um, they also have hand soap, so I do also use their hand soap. And again, same thing, they are cruelty free and minimally use minimal ingredients, with the top two being essential oils as their ingredients and plant-derived um, ingredients. So that is super awesome as well. They also have amazing scents, like, seasonal scents throughout the year, just absolutely incredible. But if you want to, like super pare it down to just like the most pristine, fine-tuned ingredients for hand soap, then I would recommend going with Dr. Bronner's. But Mrs. Meyer's is also a good option as well. And then, so that was number 4 was hand soaps. And then number 5 is going to be laundry detergent. Now, your girl over here has gone through it. Like I have tried lots of different laundry detergent brands. And most recently, what I stopped using was Branch Basics. They're incredible, but they're incredibly pricey, and don't last long enough for them to be worth it. So I did my due diligence and researched and found a very quick and simple 3-ingredient method to make long-lasting laundry detergent powder. You can also make it into liquid, but I like to use the powder. That's just me. And so the 3 ingredients that you need for that are going to be baking soda. You're going to need borax, and you're going to need super washing soda, which is also like the Arm & Hammer brand. So I get the Arm & Hammer baking soda and then the Arm & Hammer super washing soda. All 3 of these I got at the grocery store, so very easy to find. The borax and the super washing soda are in a big box, so it lasts you for a while. I have not been able to find a big box of baking soda. There's a larger box than normal that you can find typically at the grocery store, but I'm looking to hopefully get like an even bigger box than that, because that one is what I go through the most, just because it's not the same size as the other 2 boxes. But essentially it's a 1-to-1-to-1 ratio. So you put in a cup of baking soda, then you put in a cup of super washing soda, then you put in a cup of borax. You can add essential oils with the first round that I did of the laundry detergent way back when, which was probably like a little over a year ago. I put in, because the recipe suggested it, I shaved off with a cheese grater. Um, Dr. Bronner's lavender soap to give it like that scent. But what I found was because I wash my clothes in cold water, it didn't melt. So I had these little shards in there, which just wasn't ideal. So moving forward, using essential oils, just sprinkling a couple drops of that into your laundry, you're good to go. If you don't want to do that and you don't want it to be scented with, a certain scent, the other thing that I use religiously is white distilled vinegar that helps deodorize like that. But the other really nice thing about the three ingredients, the three main ingredients of the laundry detergent that you can make at home is baking soda naturally removes stains, odors, and also brightens whites. But the borax and the superwashing soda both deodorize. The borax actually also helps to remove stains, and then the superwashing soda also helps to freshen your clothes. So I absolutely love making this at home, if you will, because it is an at home laundry detergent option. And it lasts us quite a bit of time. We do have a lot of laundry, so it is definitely way cheaper than going and getting a box of Tide, which is again laden with chemicals, or going with a brand like Branch Basics, which is also incredible, but is super in unaffordable, I think. It's just too expensive and you go through it too fast. So I would highly recommend the borax, superwashing soda, and baking soda mixture 1 to 1 to 1. And that has just worked wonders for me. And again, that also right there is animal and cruelty free. So you're making it from home. Um, so yeah, I hope that these have helped you. I hope that, if you're overwhelmed with the five recommendations that I gave you, just look at one and change out one, that's the way that I started. I started with my laundry detergent and then I got into, okay, now let's switch up our soaps and, our bar soaps. Then let's switch up our hand soaps. Then let's switch up our dishwashing soaps. And so it's, it can be a lot, but if you take it, just like I said at the top of this podcast, if you take, your ambitions step by step, bit by bit, you will get there. And before you know it, it'll just become second nature to have these all natural swaps. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this was beneficial. Like I said, stay tuned for next week's episode with Dr. Michelle Jorgensen. I'm super pumped. I just interviewed her. Just this past week and wanted to get this episode out to you with her as soon as possible. So stay tuned for that interview with her next week. I can't freaking wait for you to hear from her and to hear about her upcoming book, which is just going to be incredible. I already pre-ordered mine, so I hope you will too. But without further ado, I hope you have an incredible start to your week. Happy MLK Day. Thank you, Dr. Martin Luther King, for all that you've done to help spread your message of equality for all. And I hope that everyone has an incredible week ahead, incredible rest of your week if this is midweek, an incredible end to your week if this is the end of the week when you are listening. And we will chat again next week. Take care.